Dick Kane here. In this video, I would like to illustrate how you can use my scripts for InDesign layout and alignment of elements of pages, spreads, the elements being text blocks, images, image frames, and groups, rectangular objects. Okay, so here is the layout I created of these pictures that I took back in 1976 when I visited Bodie State Park in California. They're black and whites because this is an old ghost town that used to be gold mining, and I made this arrangement. Now, I want to illustrate by going from spread to spread here and showing you the techniques that you can use, that I used to create this layout. So here is a spread showing how it might look after you have imported these 12 images into InDesign, along with the little text block which contains the heading, the text block which contains the text that was up here. This big block of text is sitting on the pasteboard for later insertion. So the first thing that you have to do, the best thing to start with in the process using my scripts, is to attach names to things. The key concept in these scripts and in making these kinds of layout relationships possible is that you give names to the various elements in your spread. And in order to do that, I've created scripts. So there's a whole set of scripts here. If I list them, they all start names with IDL for InDesign layout. I won't just be displaying that because for simplicity. In the presentation here, and most of what I will be using are scripts that I have actually assigned shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts to make it faster to operate. Okay, so the first thing, I'm going to work on the left page first here, and the first thing that I like to do is to put things in the corners, because that delimits where the page is, and it delimits and defines possibilities. So sometimes I simply move things around. So if I click on here and move it, say I put it up here, and let's say I put this wheelbarrow down here, and I put this sort of up here, and oh, it didn't go, so we got to wake it up. Okay, and then let's see, how did it go? This picture ended up down here. Okay, like so, and this picture was over here, and this picture was sort of up here, and this picture was sort of down here, as I recall. Okay, so this is the kind of the idea of the layout. Now, in order to do the details, we click on something like this. We activate the script which puts things in corners, and there are 9 possible places to put it in relation to the rectangle defined by the page margins. And the 9 positions correspond to the keys 1 through 9 in the numeric keyboard for ease of mnemonics and memory, where the layout of the numeric keyboard corresponds to the layout of the page. So if I want to put this in the upper left corner, I type the number, which is the upper left corner number, which is 7 here, and hit enter. Now, every one of these scripts that changes layouts gives you, it may do many steps, but it saves the state before you do it, and then then you always get a window dialog box in which you either approve or disapprove, and if you disapprove, the previous state is restored. If you click OK, then you're good to go. So we got this up there. I think the picture of the cow goes in the upper right corner to make the layout that we had. That's the number 9 in the upper corner of the keyboard shortcut. So there it is. My approval thing went to my other screen, so I'll bring it back and show it to you. Here it is, and I say OK. We're all set to go. I think this is the picture in the lower right corner, and the lower right corner number in the numeric keypad is 3. So we do that kind of process, and and then one more piece I'll do is to illustrate how I place this. So placing this, I can't put this directly in the corner, and the other process is putting the wheelbarrow in the corner. But let's talk about this one for a second, and I'll do my more complicated dialogue about everything that you can do about relationships, more general than just putting things in corners. It has 4 parts. The top part is about presets. If there is a preset, there will be somewhere defined. It will be on the drop-down list here. We'll ignore that for now. There's a section about where the location will be, and a section about where the size will be, and then a section where you can name a preset down here, which we're not going to do for this example. So the new location will be based on page margins, and so what part of this is going to be where? Let's say the upper left corner would go in the upper left corner of the page, except we need to move it down. So anyhow, the element of this we want lined up is the upper left corner. And how do we want it moved down or up? I want to move it down, which is negative number, but I also have defined a parameter name. So you can have parameter names, and what I have is, for this parameter, is under head. So under head, let's see, got to type correctly, H-E-A-D, and item size won't change. Oh, I got underhead going the wrong way. Okay, so we'll say okay to this. Then we will just illustrate. We'll illustrate that we can set a parameter value here. So choose the parameter. So here is underhead. I got underhead for the spread, and this value is 30. So I'll just change this. And this is in picas, which is the underlying measurement. And InDesign, if I say minus 30 and say OK, nothing changes because I didn't ask it to recompute. But now if I ask it to recompute, for example, by going back to, I'm trying to go back to this spread where it just says underhead, and if I say OK, now we get it back to the right position. So if I approve this, so you see in this way I can make the corners line up. So that's illustrated down here where I actually made some bigger, but okay, so here are the 4 corners defined on the page. And now the next question is, how do I get these in the middle? This one, remember, the gas pump was going up on top. So, okay, now, also I have named these things, which I didn't show you about. So let's show you about that. So if I pick any one of the pictures on the thing, then I have a script which will take you to the first picture like that that was introduced to this spread, and then you can toggle through them by a shortcut. So let's just illustrate like this one, and I can look and say, what's the name of this? And it says I named it C. Now I did that to make typing faster for this illustration, but I normally would have named this for cow, because here's the unique feature of this picture is the cow. So if I say OK, then this is C. I labeled these A, B, C, D, E, F, and U, V, W, X, Y, Z across the bottom, but that's not important right now. So if I pick this one and say, now this one is supposed to go in between these two. So if I get my big dialogue out here, I can say I want this to be along an edge between 2 items. What are their names? Well, you get the drop-down list alphabetically, and I've got A and C. Notice B, which is the gas pump, is not on here because you can't talk about where you want to be in relation to yourself. So that's missing from here. And the top will be along that edge. And how big do you want it to be? Well, one of the options is to make it proportional so that you get a graduated set of shapes. And if we say OK to this, now you see you get it instantly, pretty much instantly, in between with the stair-step, nice pleasing stair-step arrangement. In a similar way, we can deal with this one and put it in the bottom. I think that's shown here. So here is the same spread after that step has also been performed down below. Now the next thing we want to do is make these things bigger so that they fill this page better. So one of the things we can do is take this and make it bigger. So again, we can go here, and it says that the height will be based on the margins of the page at a height of 50%. Well, let's just leave that and say, okay. Now it didn't change anything, of course, but let's take this one and make it be the same width. So we can do that by going here and saying the item size, instead of not changing, will be based on the width of what? Page margins? No. Image named above, which we don't have, but an image named what? Well, the image above it is C. So we've got C, and we say, okay. And now this becomes the width of that. And, of course, the one in the middle got bigger because it was designed to be between this and this. This one got bigger, so this got bigger. It probably also moved a little bit to the left because the spacing, the space between these two, got narrower because the one on the right got bigger. Okay, so as a result of doing these games and making the wheelbarrow the same size as that, then we get to an arrangement like this. And this is still not what you want because this is a pretty big gap. Remember, we use the cow picture as the basis for the size of this, which determined the size of this. So if we make the cow picture bigger, if we make this taller, then that will move us in the right direction. Oh, clicked the wrong shortcut. Okay, so do the right shortcut, and oh, this is the wrong setup. I'm sorry. Okay, so we can't do that here. If we make it bigger, then we do get to this, and this is the pleasing arrangement of these elements. So then we can then move in the text and put it in the middle, which puts us in this arrangement, which shows also, in order to do the right-hand page of the two-page spread, I have also done the first step and put the pictures in the middle, in the corners, and in the middle, just like we did on the left-hand side. And I've done one other thing, which was to make, no, I didn't do it yet. Okay, make the sizes line up. So if we do that, we can end up, here, and then what do I want to do? I want to make this line up with this. I want to make these bigger, but the thing I really want, remember my goal was back up here, and one of the reasons this was pleasing to me was the fact that these progressed up, and there was this kind of an aligned gap here, which I can achieve from what I have down here in simple ways. So right now, the size of this picture is based on the height lining up, but what I really want is to make the width of this line up with the width of that. So we can do that by changing this from height to width, and based on the image named not F, but we had UVW up above. So if we make it the width of W, then this gets bigger, and of course this stayed the same. Okay, so now we have a picture like this, and let's illustrate one other thing, and then you can adjust the sizes. But notice that these pictures are lined up on the top. This picture has a dark area above this window frame, so it is aligned, you see. And these are all aligned on the bottom, but I my goal was to have them aligned here in the middle. So all I have to do is take this and move it down, for example. So if I go to its thing and say, where is this picture going to be? Instead of being based on the page margins, I will say it'll be based on the margins of an item. And the item is this one on the right. Where is the bottom of that? And remember, so these were UVW, so this is W. And so I say based on the margins of the item named W. And what I want now is the bottom of this picture to be lined up with the bottom of that picture, but not next to. So I click aligned with, and then that will just move it down. So there it moves down, you see, and now they're all lined up this way. And so then I can perform the same step. Well, I'll do it right now. Perform the same step here in the same kind of way, except now what I want is to have the top lined up. So it's based on the margins of the item over here on the right, which was number Z, named Z. And I want now the top of this to be aligned with the top of that. I'm sorry, not next to, but aligned with. And if I say OK, then those move up. And you see how quickly I can do what I want to do. This does not give exactly what I did because this is not the same width as that. If I make it the same width and play around with these getting bigger, I end up with the result that I desired. But you can see what's going on. You can see the possibilities here. There are 29 scripts, many of which do management, but the key ones are about attaching names to things, about establishing relationships among the locations and sizes of the pieces, and creating pleasing arrangements, like the one that was our goal, which was back up here, where it's the same as what we just produced, except these have gotten a little bit bigger, and this has gotten the same width as that. But it's all done in the same way. So this is illustrating the possibilities, the myriad possibilities, that you can make all kinds of alignment decisions that easily, and all kinds of sizing relationships between elements to create pleasing pages. So please go to the Adobe Exchange URL site, which is now listed on the bottom of your page. There's a trial version. Some of the features of this work, even in the trial version. The ones that do layout changes don't work because you need to buy them. You can play with them. They will show you the preview, but when you're asked to approve or disapprove, regardless of what you choose, you'll be back where you started. The settings that you do develop will be saved, so you can then purchase the full version, and then you can be able to revive those setups that you had and continue with your projects and use them. So thank you for listening. Good luck on your layouts and designs, whether you use my programs or not, but I hope you will, of course, use my programs. So go to the website that is down in the corner of the screen. Thank you for listening.